All right, hey, BassingBob members and guests. Jim Dill here. We're shooting a report this week from the shop, our shop here where we keep the boat, do all Crocagator manufacturing, distributing out. So just going to talk to you about what's been going on this week and what we expect to be coming up. This week, fish have still been holding, for the most part, in the pre-spawn pattern. You know, when I say pre-spawn, basically what that means is they're still staging up, getting ready to move into these pea gravel pockets or coves, you know, to set up for spawning. Everything we're catching, at least the better fish, are still out on bigger rocks, maybe ledgy stuff, just these approaches to where, you know, within a week or so, we got a full moon coming up here at the end of the month. Actually, it's going to land right around the big bass bash.
I think that full moon's like the 20th or something this month.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe the 22nd or 23rd.
Yeah.
And the big bass bash is the
23rd
and 4th. Yeah, so it's going to happen
Yeah.
right about the same time. So there may be a lot of bedding fish for big bass bass. You know, and there's still going to be a lot of fish for next month. There'll be a lot of fish, you know, moving up. Going back to spawn, and then within say 3 weeks you'll have fish, some coming out and some going in. It's just that time of year. So basically there's a lot of different patterns, a lot of different ways you can catch them. This week probably our primary pattern has been a jig. I'm still throwing a 3/8 ounce zapper jig, Okeechobee color with our brand new green pumpkin swirl trailer ring crawl on it. It's been a real good bait, kind of a go-to bait. Catch a lot of fish on that. That or this here 1/4 ounce Gator Shaky Pro Head, rigged with a Zoom mag trick worm and green pumpkin color. That's been my bottom baits. The Carolina rig is coming on real good. I'm throwing you know, a Zoom brush hog for that, you know, a full-size one, and you want to throw that probably on these same banks, these gravelly mix, like say softball size, maybe basketball down to baseball size, bigger rock with pea gravel mix in it.
Kind of in the places that they're going to spawn.
Yeah, real close. These are a little closer to spawning pockets, you know, where they'll be, where they're going. If you see a spawning pocket, a lot of pea gravel, I like to take these Carolina rig and just throw right down the middle of it, you know, and just drag that thing right down through the middle of a pea gravel pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll get some of them big females that are coming up spawning when they kind of, you know, kind of get in that, not necessarily on the bottom, not necessarily chasing stuff. You know, you can catch some same fish on a suspended jerkbait still, or a Carolina rig, or also a big spinnerbait. Something like this one here with a big Colorado blade.
Mm-hmm.
Or also, as the water clears up, we'll start getting away from this big thumping blade and catching more like on a willow leaf,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a willow combination Colorado, you know, and kind of the same deal on these spawning. Everything's about the where these fish are headed right now, and they're all headed to these pockets. And one thing you want to kind of look at when you're looking for these pockets is these protected pockets. You know, on your normal circumstance, your winds coming out of the north, northwest, so you want to be on those northern banks, northwest banks pockets, to where they're protected. They get all the sunlight and they're protected. These fish really don't like to stage up, and they definitely don't like to spawn in these pockets that are just getting pounded with the wind. That's not the ones you want to look for. So
for the ones that are wind protected.
yeah, they're protected by the wind,
Mm-hmm.
and they catch a lot of sun.
Yep.
You know, it's, you know, and that's just what they're wanting. They want to get up in there. They don't want to be bothered. They want to get up in there and do their thing. They need all that sun. They incubate them eggs, you know, and just make things happen.
What's been the water temp when you've been out this past
Water
week?
temp this week, actually earlier in the week, it had dropped down to 53,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we've had them cold nights, you know, 28, 30 degrees. And that's really what's been holding these fish from committing
Getting up there.
and going in is these cold nights. You
Yeah,
know,
of
now
course.
this next week, you know, we expect to have what 50-degree nights
Yeah.
and 70, 75-degree days, and that's what it's going to take. So all these fishes,
Yeah.
they're just kind of stacking up on these points, stacking up on these pre-spawn banks, and as soon as that water gets right and it stays right, you know, if it warms up to 62, and then at nights it's dropping down, it's dropping 5, 6 degrees. That's just not stable enough for them to really commit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So once that water stays around 60 at night, first thing in the morning, if it's still 60, you're gonna see a lot of fish
Yep.
move to them pockets, and then you may, you know, then you'll start switching up baits like on our jigs. I'll just switch out a trailer, you know, is the only thing I do. I'll still throw a 3/8 and maybe the half, but you're gonna want to start getting underneath these docks.
Mhm.
On these docks that are sitting on the pea gravel flats, you know, say the dock might be sitting in 3 foot of water on pea gravel, and then you're gonna want to flip up underneath them, because them big females will get underneath them docks, underneath them corners, you know. And then I like to slow it down a little bit, a little more movement, something like this this bio spawn bow crawl. That's a really new bait. It's come out. This thing has a lot of movement on it, and I actually use this bait still on my big jigs later. But this time of year, you just take, there's several different stages of this bait, and you can cut it down. Like you take that front end off of there, and now it's shrunk that trailer down to the proper size for these smaller jigs. You know, you can rig that up on there, and you get a lot of movement out of there. You flip that under them docks, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of movement, and it gets a lot of strikes, a lot of action. So that's the only thing I'm gonna do with my jig is change that up. The trailer, you know, the shaky head, that thing's gonna be really good for the next at least month.
Yeah.
If you want to go out and catch a lot of fish, I'm not sure you can beat that shaky head. You know.
Mm-hmm.
What didn't you say you was throwing some
Yeah.
wacky rig?
Yeah, I was throwing a wacky rig Senko this past week. I just off my dock, and I ended up catching a bunch of fish. They were all males,
Yeah.
but great way to catch fish. Right
Yeah,
now.
it's a great time. You know, today we had a trip this morning. It was a little slow, and we ended up putting on some mag shaky head on these, you know, on these shaky heads,
Mhm.
and bounce them, drag them around. We started catching some fish.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of the day when we actually started catching them. So they'll bite them all day.
And that Senko is a real versatile bait too. You know, you can fish it on the wacky rig, you
Right.
can fish it on your crocky or shaky head.
Exactly. And that's one thing about it. Depending on the mood the fish are in, if they're really chasing, or
Mhm.
if you need something kind of like you were doing, just wacky rigged, throwing it up there, and that thing just sinks real slow. And you just give it a twitch every once in a while, and it'll make them. You know, the longer you can keep them baits in front of a fish's face, you know, they're gonna get aggravated with it. You know, they start protecting these pockets. They protect where they're getting their surroundings for these beds. You know, they just start eating everything around there and chasing things, and just really protecting it. So a bait like that, it's just in their face. You know, it stands up, it hits, and it stands up, and you know, it's probably most productive bait this time of year.
Yeah.
Is a shaky head on that mag trick one.
Mhm.
You know, even beds, it's good for beds. You know, you can throw it in there and bounce it in there. If you're seeing beds, that wacky rig really works good over the top of those. You know, you can always throw a jig in it, you know, spinner baits around it. And one thing here, probably in the next week, I don't really expect a lot to change in the next week. But in 2 weeks, for the big bass,
Mhm.
that's when we're gonna see a lot of change. You'll be able to catch them on all these baits still. But the one thing, and a lot of people overlook it in the spring, is the buzz bait.
Mhm.
When the bass do not like stuff over to the top of their heads, when they have a bed there and you bring something over the top of their head numerous times, eventually they're gonna get mad and they're gonna come up and hit it. So this big buzz bait, I like throwing the the 3/4 ounce crocodile buzz bait, a head knocker. Always put that trailer on there. You know, that'll catch you a lot of big fish. Another bait, really good bait, is a hidden 1-knot spook.
Yep.
That thing on the top of them. I had one up here, a little chug bug. Storm makes a chug bug. Anything that you can sit right on top of it and work it, especially a big spook. They hate them spooks on the top of their beds.
Yeah.
You know? So that'd be a bait for a big fish. You know, probably the big bass deal. There's no telling what it's going to be caught on.
Yeah.
You know, I know Justin caught it on a Swamp Bug Senior Carolina rigging it. You know, I guess that was that last
two
last year or 2 years ago, whatever. You know, Carolina, that big swamp bug. The spring, it can be caught on pretty much anything. A big spinnerbait. I really would expect it to be caught probably on a big spinnerbait, maybe on a main lake point. If we get some wind, you know, on some of these fresh fish coming up, they haven't seen a lot of baits. Throw a great big spinnerbait up on a windy point. You're at least gonna catch some fish. Gonna catch you some checks.
Yeah.
You know, the big fish to win this thing. I don't know. What do you think it's gonna take?
There's been a lot of big fish caught lately here at Lake of the Ozarks, and I don't know. It could take
You know, in the BassingBob meeting, we all said, upper 7s, you know.
Yeah.
But now
There's been
I'm thinking these fish are packing full of eggs. They're packing it on. I wouldn't doubt to see a mid 8-pounder caught.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's been several, like you said, big 7s. You know, heavy 7s, heavy 6s.
I covered a tournament last weekend. It was a club tournament, and there was a 7.17 weighed in.
Is that right? Yeah.
Big bass, yeah.
So
So you just never know.
The big fish, it's going to take over a 7. I really, you got too many fishermen on the water, covering too much area, you know. So, you know, that's going to be a fun time for a lot of people, and somebody's going to take home, what is it, $70,000 this year for one fish. You know, and it can be you, it can be anybody.
Yeah.
You know, just get out there and cover water. Just try to work with all the other anglers. There's a lot of anglers, a lot of boats.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's out there just having fun, and it's not going to be a secret bait, secret spot.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a big fish moves up the feed, and you're going to put a bait in front of them,
Pulling at the right
and
time
you're going to catch them. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. If you pull up somewhere and somebody's on your bank, just wait an hour and come back.
Yeah.
You know, we've done it in the past couple of weeks. We pull up on an area and somebody's there. It's all timing right now. The fish moving in and out throughout the day. So, you know, my advice would be do one of two things, kind of opposite. Either slow way down and drag Carolina rig, hop jigs, you know, stuff along the bottom, or you might speed it up and cover a lot of water and throw a big spinnerbait. You know, I said big spinnerbait on main lake points, windy points, very productive. But that big spinnerbait can really be productive this time of year as these big females move back in on these shallow docks. You just throw that spinnerbait up this shallow corner and just slow roll it along the side, just underneath the foam. These fish are notorious for getting their backs right against that foam. You know, heating up their eggs, their backs, whatever.
Is that a pattern that you can kind of fish all over the lake this time of year?
Yeah, and right now the lake's probably by the big bass deal. I'd say the entire lake is going to fish pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You know, as far as you can go to the backs of a lot of creeks, coves, pockets. If you see shallow brush piles, run a spinnerbait up over the top of it, a buzz bait over top of it, flip a jig in it. You know, you probably catch a lot of fish doing that. You know, I would expect. You know, the next couple of weeks is going to be just really good for a lot of fish. You know, so I don't know. That'd be my tip for big bass. You know, like I said, this week it's still mainly jigs, shaky heads, and for the next couple of weeks, pretty much anywhere on the lake. You know, now I did spend a little time in Anangwas yesterday and then today. That water's really clear.
Yeah.
A lot clearer than the rest of the lake. You know.
Where I live down by the dam, it's still pretty dirty.
Yeah, it's probably the dirtiest water still.
Yeah.
You know, up the Osage is real stained, still got some good color.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting at is those fish can be caught a lot shallower.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not necessarily any cover. You know, just on open
Yeah.
banks because that dirty water. Now the clear water, it's probably gonna be more important to get around a piece of brush or shallow docks, something, you know,
Yeah.
with a cover over the top of it.
Yeah.
You know, so that about does it for this week.
Yeah.
You know,
There's-
I wish everybody good luck on the big bash. You know, keep tuned in to BassingBob. You know, I seen Bass
Maybe-
on the water yesterday, or Bob on the water yesterday. He can't hide from us. We find him no matter where he's at. You know, but you know, so he's going to keep everybody updated. He's going to keep you updated on what's going on, what he's finding out, and you know, we'll be giving our input. I'll probably be making visits at the tackle stores next week, Thursday, Friday for the big bass.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, come in, talk. We'll talk fishing. And
Yeah.
see if we can help you out.
Yep.
You know?
Well, can't. You want me to move it forward, or whenever you go and talk about the baits, I could grab the camera and.
You could. I just mean we don't have to have all that, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if I do.
Boy, that thing is wide, ain't it?
Yeah.